What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the NBA DFS Around the Rim show. Again, I am your host, JSU, and we got a two-man show today. My man, Big T, joining us today. What's up, Big T?
What's going on? Yeah, we'll see what we can do here with this slate. We had a lot of fun yesterday. We did have some good results, though, which was nice. Had a few bullets up top. I think a bunch of members, bunch of the coordinators and stuff had a chance to win some stuff. So a lot of craziness, which does get a little stressful. But if you can navigate through it, the edge is bigger than ever, which is what we like. Today, we're going to get tested for sure because – what is it, 7 games? It's 6 games? How many total games? 7?
So on DK, we have 7 games. And I'm pretty sure on FanDuel, they're really trying to mess with us here. So on FanDuel's full game slate, they decided, oh, no, we're going to only have the 4:30 and on games. So we got 5 games on FanDuel for the main slate, 7 on Draftkings. So we're going to try and navigate, obviously we'll touch on the 2 games on the DK slate first, and then we'll get into the other 5. But yeah, is someone in the chat saying, Tony, you always look pissed when we get on. I'll tell you right now, Tony's on this crazy sleep schedule where, he stays up until 1, 2 in the morning. Me and this guy are up, talking, watching basketball, sweating out our boy, K. Fallick.
Yeah, K. Fallick.
He shipped 100K last night, by the way. Shout out to him. Just absolutely destroyed MLB. He was up huge. It was almost like before Coors went absolutely bonkers and Mike Trout decided to just go nuts as well. He was going to ship by 25 points. That's how big of a lead this dude had. And then, it got hairy towards the end, but we sweated out for him. We were trying to give him that good mojo, and it worked out for him. So shout out to him. 100K.
Those were the
MLB.
craziest nights too, because man, he just had the nuts. I mean, he had 3% as Drupal Cabrera, and he had just these little pieces that really should have won it for him. He had the nuts and the high stakes, and man, he almost ran so bad. Trout hits 2 bombs. Trout goes completely off the chain. And I think he only ended up winning by 1 or 2 points. But when you end up holding like that and you get that true sweat, there's nothing better than that. That's better than winning by 30 because it just gets your blood pumping. You feel like you're going to lose maybe for a minute, and then you just hold. And there's nothing better. But that dude has worked. I mean, all the sports. He plays all the sports. He plays every day. Great dude. One of my good friends, and I was so happy for him.
Yeah, and you said that was his – he's had a lot of big wins, but did you say that was his first 6-figure hit ever?
He's had a ton of 5-figure wins, but I think it's his first 6-figure one. So that was he's had a ton of, really close calls, like everyone does. It's – yeah, super happy for him for sure.
Yeah. So Kevin's in the chat, K. Fallick, and he said couldn't sleep all night. And, honestly, Tony, me and you have had these types of sweats where, it ends up going our way and then it ends up not going our way, right? And either way, I can't sleep the rest of the night. Literally, I'm up either just tilting about what happened and how I lost or about how I won. And just it's that feeling it's hard to describe, but at the same time, yeah, you don't sleep, man. I when you said I couldn't sleep all night,
I'll tell you one thing, though.
For sure
when
do that.
You're on the workbench, you do sleep a little better after the win than the loss, though. If he gave up another hit, you're definitely not sleeping if you were up all night and you get past at the very end.
Well, that's true. I couldn't sleep either way. But, again, shout out to you. And Tony, let's first just kind of discuss this slate from an overview standpoint. There's just so much news, that we have and some that we don't have. There's starters, with main guys out. The starters are going to be huge to kind of dictate what these teams are going to do. We'll get into it game by game. But when you get to a slate like this, where it seems like, one, we're going to have a few games where there's nothing to play for, and then a few games that are meaningful, right? And then 2, in a bunch of these teams, they're kind of sitting key players, and we're going to have the backup, 7 guys kind of play probably key minutes. it's a lot to kind of take in. And honestly, it becomes kind of a guessing game. And if you've watched basketball and you've been watching these rotations with guys, then you kind of have maybe an idea of who's pretty good, who does well, like who, you know what I mean? So talk about that a little bit just from an overview standpoint.
Yeah, man, it almost becomes, I don't want to say like showdown, but it becomes similar to that where you just have to roll the dice on a few things. I mean, the craziest part about this isn't the news. It's that we have a game starting at 1 and we have a game starting at 9 p.m. And I mean, you got these games at 8 and 9 p.m. that literally the whole slate could. So if you want to just wait on news, you could wait for these last 3 games and just roll the dice. Who knows what hits? You never know what you'll fall into, but there'll for sure be some value pop up. There'll for sure be some things pop up, but you just don't know. I mean, you just almost have to go game by game, figure out a plan for each game, and just guess, like you said. I mean, make an educated guess how it plans out. And I think this week, the hardest part is going to be finding the stars that you know for sure are going to play, like 100%. And that doesn't even mean a ceiling in all cases. Like I'm talking lock in your 50 ball like last night with LeBron and AD and these guys. Lock in your 50 and be happy with it. Maybe someone gets you more. I mean, maybe someone on the slate does. But if you guaranteed me all week that my stars are going to get me over 50, I'm going to take my chances to make a lot of money. So, because the values are going to pop up. I mean, you're not going to hit all the values. It's impossible. Like yesterday, I mean, we locked the OKC guys. One of them goes off. Boban goes off. But then you got the Toronto news breaks. And you got Boucher. And you got Norman Powell. And they go off. So you just got to make guesses. You got to go game by game. I kind of like it. It's not as normal as the NBA usually is. But it's a guessing game. I like guessing games. If you guess right, you can have a monster day. And I think we're pretty good. I think we're better than most at guessing how we think these games are going to go. So I think that's a good plan. I think is just kind of go game by game. And then after we get all the games, kind of just talk about how we would construct after that.
Yeah. And I mean, for some people, you know, obviously the news, when we get it is when we get it. Like yesterday with the 8 in news, someone put in, I think it was AP put in something in the Discord, like 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes before that game, before lock. And it was still unconfirmed whether or not he was there, he was starting. We had no idea. And for some people, you got to remember, like everyone is guessing at this point. Like you got to know, like you're not the only one that's guessing. We don't we are also guessing when we get news like that. So with 3 minutes left, like I pivoted to Saric in some of my lineups, but I couldn't pivot in a bunch of them because the news broke like very last minute. So you got to be ready. You got to stay at your computer. And if you're someone who can't be at your computer all day and maybe you work until like 4, then maybe you shouldn't, maybe if you want to lock in one guy from the earlier games, but
or just fade it and take your chances.
And lock in the later games. Like that's something I would do on a slate like this. Cause like Tony said, we're going to get stuff that pops up. Norman Powell, Chris Boucher, we're going to get those guys that pop up that were like, these guys are decent. If they're getting some good minutes, I like them. So I think it's a good strategy if, that's what you want to do. And if you make multiple lineups, maybe you play 1 or 2 in the early, and then maybe you fade the early and play 2 in the later in case there's some news that you really like that comes up later. So that's just a strategy thing. But let's kind of get into these games, Tony. The first one we're going to talk about is one of the teams in the Brooklyn Nets who is pretty much resting everyone. Garrett Temple, Joe Harris, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert. All these guys are resting. Jamal Crawford is still out. So very short, rotation, probably not that many guys they have left. So what are we doing with this Brooklyn Nets team? They're playing against an Orlando team that is kind of similar. They lost Terrence Ross. He's departed for a personal matter. Evan Fournier's out still. Aaron Gordon, Isaac, they're out. What are we doing with this game, Tony?
Yes, I mean, we start right away with one of the trickier ones of the day, honestly, because you look at these Orlando guys, And on paper, they're going to look really good. The Vooches, the Fultzes, the Augustines, I mean, for sure are going to pop because Fultz and Augustine, they played pretty good minutes. How many minutes did they play last game? I should have it.
They both played 30. So
yeah.
Augustine played 32 or 33 minutes. Fultz actually played more than that. He played 35 or 36 minutes. I'm sorry. No, 33. So both of them played like 33 minutes. Excuse me. So that's a lot for Fultz.
Since the bubble has started, the Nets have basically been the best team to play against. So it's a very interesting spot right out of the way. I feel like this happens every day too, where I fall in love with the first game, and it doesn't usually work out for all the guys just because Orlando isn't really – this game doesn't matter for them either, right?
Yeah, no, this game really doesn't matter for them. It's funny, though, that like last game they played Boston, and they didn't have to run Vooch out 37, 38 minutes, and they ran him out 37, 38 minutes. Like, I don't understand it. They're locked in to the 8th seed, I guess. No, because they're 2.5 games. Yeah, so they're locked into the 8th seed. I don't even think they can catch Brooklyn. Unless they have 3 games left, unless both of those teams.
I don't think they have 3. I'm pretty sure they're locked into that.
Yeah, spot. So they're locked in. So this game means nothing. Why are you going to run Vooch out big minutes? Like, if they run him out big minutes, I love Vooch. Like, I think he's a great play, but
it's just so, like, it feels impossible for them to run him out big minutes. And he's priced. This is going to be another spot where I think people play Vooch. And again, like, it's a guessing game. So, like, if we say we're not playing him and he goes off, like, it's just he can easily. If this dude plays 34, 35 minutes, he's going to go off. I just don't see it. It's almost like Middleton yesterday where I'm going to play someone else for my salary. I do think you can play the rest of them just because of price. Like, when we say we don't want to play Vooch, it's because he's 8,600. Like I said, with the Stars, there's so much value on this slate. We have to hit the expensive guys because we're going to play cheap guys with them, if that makes sense. I don't want to roll the dice on a guy like Vooch, even though I think he's a great play if he gets minutes. I'd much rather play anybody else, especially Fultz and Augustine. But I don't know, like a guy like – because I'm pretty sure Mo Bamba I've seen is out, right? I think I saw Mo Bamba's out.
Is he out? I haven't seen that, but he might be.
I'm pretty sure I saw Mo Bamba's out. Either way, though, like a guy like Kim Birch, like he should get run too. But it just comes down to value, and it stinks that Brooklyn is the best matchup of the day too. So I feel like we need some Orlando pieces. It's just a matter of who besides that. I mean, maybe it's just Fultz and Augustine, or even one of them. One of those two has to cross.
Yes. So, I mean, I will lean the younger of Fultz. I think if you're going to play any of those 3 big minutes, in my eyes, it would be Fultz just because you kind of got to see, like, at some point, you kind of got to see where this kid's at. Like, if he can't do it in a matchup like this, I mean, this is a spot where they need to kind of see what he's got. He played really well last game. I don't see why he doesn't get 30 minutes just for the fact that they're down a bunch of players. Why not give this kid a chance? No Michael Carter-Williams. So, I mean, less depth in the point guard spot. It's really just him, Augustine, and that's really it for point guard. So I like Fultz. I mean, I don't like a guy like Gary Clark, but he saw 33 minutes. And he did okay in 33 minutes. I don't think he's a very good player, but he's going up against like the best matchup he can get in Brooklyn. So I hate it, but I'm probably going to end up playing 2 of these cheap guys. I agree with you, Kem Birch. If Birch gets 25 minutes, I would love him. I think
Birch might be our like sneaky play that no one's going to play. Like, how does he not play 25 minutes, 30 minutes?
I mean, the only way he doesn't is if for some reason they play Vooch 34 minutes again or 36 minutes. Like, that's the only way. Because Vooch and him, their minutes are entwined. They're together. So if Vooch is playing 24 minutes, that's going to help Birch. That means Birch is probably going to see 24 minutes at the center spot.
Yeah.
So it all depends on that. From the Brooklyn side, though, I think there's some interesting plays here. So the last time they sat the three guys, Harris and Allen and LeVert, the one guy who Jamal Crawford did play, he got injured in the second quarter, I'm pretty sure, or third quarter. But the one guy who did play was Garrett Temple, and he's out now too. So now they're down another key guard or small forward, whatever you want to list him as. This, to me, I kind of like Justin Anderson as a sneaky play at 3K. I don't know who's going to go here, but he's like a solid player off the bench. I honestly hope he doesn't start somehow, and then we get him for like 25 to 30 minutes off the bench, which I could definitely see when they're missing this many people. So I like him. I think Luau Cabaret is a pretty solid value at 3,600. Kurucs is going to probably play 30 minutes. Donta Hall, if you want to take a shot with him at center. But I think Justin Anderson and Luau Cabaret and then Kurucs are the three guys I'm really looking at from Brooklyn. Anything for you, or do you like those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at them. The only crappy part is this is the first game, which just stinks because it makes the slate so much harder when we lock these cheap guys in early, because I feel like right away, but I do think they crush is where it's kind of a fine line. I mean, I think this game is going to be really, really good fantasy-wise, and I think it's going to be all the cheap guys doing the damage. So I need these guys. Like TLC, I think is borderline locky. I'm looking at them. So I was all over that game the first time when this happened. Like you said, Temple played a decent amount of minutes too. And I was all over these guys. They all crushed for the most part. Justin Anderson crushed, and for some reason he didn't get the last run. Like he was at like 20 in the first half, and for some reason didn't play again or something weird. But yeah, like so TLC in this game played 30 minutes that last time versus Milwaukee, 33 fantasy points. I think it could be even higher today. And guys like Chiozza, Tyler Johnson didn't play much the last time this happened. Chiozza played 31 minutes too. I definitely like him.
He had a good game that game.
I think he should get run though. Like you would think in theory he would get the run. Kurucs played 28. Even Musa got me like 20 last time in this spot, which isn't going to be good today, by the way. We always have the argument you need to get blah 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 from your min price guys. Like you're gonna need probably 30 from these cheap guys today. So I agree with you, Justin Anderson. I'm kind of the opposite of you with Justin Anderson. I think I want to see him start just because we have so much value going to come later today. I don't want to like completely roll the dice on a guy like that. I don't think. I usually like it. Like I usually agree with you.
He's a guy who, if you're making one lineup, you're probably not playing, right?
Unless he's in that starting
unless he's
lineup.
starting.
Then he might be in there for sure.
But if you're making multiple lineups, I definitely think you should have some Justin Anderson. Yeah. So, and just to clarify, Garrett Temple played 26 minutes against Milwaukee. So there's some big minutes where I think Musa and Anderson see an uptick, and they both got 16 and 19 minutes. So if you give those guys, I don't know, let's just say 10 minutes each from Temple's 26, right? Yeah. That puts them at over 25 minutes. I mean, not bad for a 3K guy if you're getting over 25 minutes. And if they're doing well, maybe they see more. So I don't know. I think
this game is very good, though. Like, you're still going to play him because you only play 3 or 4 teams, too. You're not going to play him if he's not starting with all the value on the board.
I might. I don't know. I will see.
Whoever's starting for Brooklyn, I think is
well. So if Musa starts, would you have more interest in him?
I think whoever starts, I would have more of, just because I think they're guaranteed to play a bunch of minutes.
All right. And anything else from the Orlando side? For me, I think it's just the 2 cheap guys that I said. And if you want to take a shot with Vooch and hope he plays 35 minutes, like go for it. But
you definitely could, because if he plays, he's going to crush. But man, it's tough. And The one good thing about this being the first game is we should have starters, and honestly, this game, the starters does mean more than usual to me, at least from the Brooklyn side and Orlando side for that matter, because we just have so many guys out, like Gary Clark. I like that call. I'm going to end up with a ton of this game. I can already feel it coming because I think this game goes totally crazy scoring-wise.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm definitely going to have a lot of this game. Wes Iwundu, for me, as someone asked in the chat, even with Ross out, he's just not good.
We're not playing him.
Yeah, so I'm just not on him. I would prefer Gary Clark, I think, if I had to take one of those. Or like I said, Ken Birch. And you can hope he plays more minutes and Vooch doesn't. So
I think he's my sneaky guy. I like Birch.
You just talked about not playing a guy coming off the bench.
No, Birch, but Orlando. No, that was from Brooklyn or okay. Orlando. Like if Vooch doesn't get I almost think like you should play one of those too. Like if you think Vooch somehow does play Vooch. But if you think like we do and he's not going to play, like Birch, because Mo Bamba's out, like there is no other bigs. Birch smashed that other game too. What was the game? One of these games in the bubble, I played Bamba and Birch just went off. 30 fantasy points in 16 minutes in this same. Oh man, Birch is our guy. Whoever's in that, it was the same match.
I like it.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean I like it. Birch
is.
He can do it in even 20 minutes. He could get it done for you, even in 20 minutes. So I like it. Let's move on though, because the next game I have some interest in: Houston Rockets versus the San Antonio Spurs. Now the Spurs are a team that are still fighting. They're still fighting for a spot. So this game still means something to them. But it's getting real close, right, Tony? I think they're like a game or a half game behind Portland and Phoenix. Yeah. So they're tied with Phoenix, but they're a half game behind Portland and one full game behind the Grizzlies. So they're still live in this thing. Like, I mean, if the Grizzlies lose today to Boston, which could happen, right? And the Spurs win and the Trailblazers, maybe if they lose, like they're going to jump.
The Spurs are for sure still in the race because I think they play one of the teams too or something. I read that they're still definitely in it. Yeah,
no, they are. I can't remember who they play like last. I can't remember who the team is, but they still have life. So this is a spot where I want to attack. I like a lot of these Spurs guys. I also like, I mean, we don't have this news for sure, but you would think Derek White is probably going to sit out after that injury. So he got hurt in the very end of the second quarter, was absolutely smashing too, by the way. Tries to gut it out in the third quarter, goes for a layup. It doesn't even look like the guy makes contact with him. They don't call a foul, and he just stays down. It seemed to be that exact knee that he injured at the end of the second quarter. So I don't know how bad the injury is. You would think, though, that he's going to rest unless he feels really good to play. So if he rests, I have a ton of interest in a lot of these Spurs. DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan, even at $8K, his price tag on DraftKings, I still think is a really strong play against this Houston Rockets team. I mean, they're going to have no problem. I mean, the Rockets team, they don't play much defense anyways. They just want to score. So they're going to have no problem going up and down on this Rockets team. I like Rudy Gay. I think Podol, if Podol sees 25 minutes against this Rockets team, he could smash. Like, there's some plays in this game, Tony. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so this is where my game theory gets me in trouble sometimes, and it also wins tournaments for me sometimes because everyone's going to be on these Houston guys today, and the first thing that comes to mind for me is Houston wants to lose this game. They need to lose. They need to stay in the 4-hole to avoid playing the Clippers. They don't want to move up. Just like the Nuggets wanted to lose last night. Everybody wants a different matchup this week. And right now the Rockets are the 4 seed, which would obviously align them with the Lakers in the second round. And they play the Thunder or the Jazz in the first round. That's the nuts right now. Playing the Thunder or Jazz first and then the Lakers is way, way better than playing whoever the other team is and then the Clippers. It's just a better path. And I don't see a reason Houston wants to win this. I think the Spurs are a total lock. I'll put it on the bet side too. I've been hot on the bet side. I think the Spurs win this game by 20. I think Westbrook could get limited minutes wise, and everyone's going to play him fantasy. I mean, on the surface, I think he's a total lock. This is like a major tournament play from me. I just wouldn't be shocked if they want to lose this game. I wouldn't be shocked if Westbrook played 29 minutes instead of 38 like people think he's going to play. Or this is just the complete tournament side in me. I think the Spurs blow him out, and I think you can get a lot of leverage tournament-wise if you punt this game and just don't play much from it, because everyone's going to this game for Westbrook and House and Covington and Austin Rivers and then come back with a Spurs guy. Like, that's just going to be everyone's build. And you know what? Say I'm wrong and guys do good. It'll get you a different path anyways in tournaments, which on these slates, that's not a bad thing. Get me on something later today that who knows what it is. Again, this is not cash. This is tournaments. I'm talking a $20 tournament or whatever it is today, $100K to first. It's just me. It's me saying what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to fade this game.
Yeah, so I get exactly what you're saying. if they rest Westbrook or limit him, and so I don't think they're going to rest him. Obviously, he's going to play.
I don't think he's going to rest.
But if let's say he only gets like 25 minutes or 28 minutes, let's say, I mean I might way more want Dame Lillard for 500 more. If
who
that's
needs to win?
Who needs to win at 3,800?
Correct.
The problem is, I love the Spurs side. The Spurs are not good defensively.
120, so
they're going to score 120, but I think the Rockets are going to score 115. Like, they're not good. The San Antonio Spurs are not very good defensively right now. They're struggling. Like, the New Orleans Pelicans were terrible in that last game, and they let them come back in. The Pels, they were blowing the Pels out at one point, and the Pels were awful, and they let them get back in that game. So if the Rockets don't rest their starters, like if Covington plays 32 minutes, if Westbrook plays 32 minutes, I think they smash.
Oh, yeah.
In 32 minutes. Like, they will smash, because the Spurs defense right now is so bad. And they just lost one of their better defenders in Derek White with this. I mean, DeJounte Murray is a great defender, but
I mean, I do think
they're
I agree with you in a way that Westbrook will smash in 32 minutes, but I don't think he gets like 70 or I think he gets in the 50s, which may be good. I don't think he breaks the slate in 32 minutes. Though.
I wish he was 10K plus, because I think this would be an easier conversation for me to still like the Spurs and not play Westbrook. Yeah. But he's 9,300. So again, here's where I'm going to tell you guys that making multiple lineups on these types of slates are important, because you should make a lineup with Tony's theory where the Spurs blow him out. No, but I'm saying if you think that this is a possibility, then you should build a lineup on that theory. And then if you think it's also possible that Houston, because D'Antoni's just crazy and he wants to run his guys into the ground, are going to run them out for big minutes, then you should make a lineup with Westbrook. This is where making multiple lineups is key on a slate like this. So
and this dude is going to be 85% owned in these high stakes tournaments. If we fall into the path and this dude plays 20 minutes and doesn't play the second half, which is definitely in the realm of possibilities, this chat over at Run Pure is going to be like, we're going to ship everything, because
I mean, you're talking me into swapping my Russ out for Dame right now.
I honestly just don't think there's that much risk. Like, if he goes off, you're going to lose for sure. But he's going to be 85% owned. Like, there's so much leverage against him.
So one guy I did like in this matchup besides Westbrook was Covington. And I think he could do really well if he sees 30 minutes. And again, I'm not paying the premium of, Westbrook at 9,300 with Covington. He's like 66 or 6,700, and there's so much value on the slate. So, I mean, maybe it is a spot where I end up just playing Covington and not Westbrook and get a little different that way. Because I'll tell you right now, if you game stack this game and you don't play Westbrook, and like you play Dame in your lineup,
Now
you're
that
going to
would
be
be an
so much.
interesting build right there.
You're going to be so much
If you
different
game
from the
stack
field.
this, I think you got to play Westbrook if you're game
I
stack.
mean, you don't have to do anything, Tony. Like,
I mean, if this game stays close, though, there's no way.
Daniel House is questionable. I do just want to throw that out there too.
I'm telling you, you could see an hour from now, you could see in the chats or wherever you're at some major tilt coming from this game because I feel the Spurs are going to blow this team out. I feel very good about that. The Houston needs to lose this game. And I don't care.
You're way too overconfident in this Spurs team.
I feel
they are so bad defensively right now.
They don't want to win though. Like
all right.
I feel I don't care the little coach talk too. Like we don't care who we play. When you're in the coaches meeting, they're looking at the standings saying the Lakers are terrible. The Clippers are really good. Or it's just there's no way there's no way they want to win today. No chance.
All right. Well, we'll see.
If you're at the sports book where you can bet, just fire on the Spurs and then just free roll the DFS.
I mean, that I agree with. I think the Spurs win for sure. But let's move on. We got the Phoenix Suns versus the Philadelphia 76ers. And it's another game where Phoenix, this game means a ton. They're 6-0 in the bubble, I think, right now. They're on fire. Devin Booker's playing out of his mind right now. And then DeAndre Ayton, he's going to be a solid play, I think, today after the fiasco from yesterday where he obviously didn't start the game but ended up coming in. And then you got the Sixers who just said, you know what, Phoenix, here you go. We're just going to give you another win because there just seems like they're going to rest everyone. Joel Embiid's going to stay out. Ben Simmons is already out. Tobias Harris and Al Horford are questionable. I would assume that they sit because what is the point of playing them if you're the Sixers right now? There is 0 point in playing those guys. So now you got a team with Shake Milton, Alec Burks, Matthias Thybulle, Kyle O'Quinn, Norvel Pelly or whatever his name is at center. Like, this team is bad. This team is really bad. And Phoenix is absolutely going to dust them. The question is, Tony, can we get some run out of Devin Booker and Ayton where it's worth playing both of them? Because honestly, I'm really worried about playing both of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Again, game theory. We're going to keep coming back to it on this slate. I don't see any way Philadelphia keeps this game close. Like you said, I still think they're going to sit these guys. Even if they play Horford and Tobias, it's not going to be for big minutes. They're just not gaining anything. And to be honest, like these other Philly guys, this could be another game where we fall into the total nuts where Horford and Tobias sit too, and all of a sudden, even Shake might sit, and all of a sudden, then you're looking at Furkan, and you're looking at Glenn Robinson, and you're looking at these guys that are going to get Kyle O'Quinn. Like Kyle O'Quinn could be like Boban yesterday, where all of a sudden, if he's in the starting lineup against Phoenix, he could easily break a slate. We've seen it happen before a ton of times, and I just don't like Phoenix is going to kill this team. I don't see a way around it. Yesterday we saw it from Booker. He did get 50, but he sat the whole fourth quarter. If I knew he wasn't going to play the fourth again, like you can't play him over these other guys. Again, it comes down. The hard part of these slates is going to be the stars. You got to find the stars that'll do it. I do think they're both pretty good plays, and I think that I don't mind playing them together because there's a good chance if they get there, they'll both get there. If they don't, they both might not. And in tournaments, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think you either play both of them. I'm kind of leaning towards playing them just because they need a win, and I like the floor. But I could definitely be talked into a fade with almost anything today. So I'm a little torn. I definitely am interested in the Philly side, though. Like Furkan at 3K against Phoenix, who plays no defense. I am definitely interested in Furkan at 3K.
Yeah, I mean, if we get all these guys out, I'll be interested in Alec Burks again. I think that they love Matthias Thybulle, and they're going to definitely want to get this kid some run. He's a solid defender. He's very raw offensively, but I think they're going to run him out big minutes, especially if Tobias and Al Horford sit. So I think he's also a candidate. And then, like Tony said, whoever starts at center, Kyle O'Quinn or the Pelly kid, whatever his name is, they're both 3K. Whoever starts, I'll have some interest in. So it just comes down to, though, the Suns, from the Suns studs. Like, there's no way, like last slate, I would have played, if Ayton was fine, like I would have played both together and I would have been totally fine with it.
Yeah.
On this slate, I don't think there's any way you play both of them together unless you're just doing like an onslaught game stack and you really think the Sixers are going to keep it close, which if that's the case, you should have 3 or 4 Sixers in your lineup with these guys on the comeback. But I think for me, if I take one of these guys, it's going to be one. And honestly, now that I think about it, I don't know if I can take these guys. Like, I don't know if I can pay the premium when I got CJ McCollum cheaper than both these guys. Dame Lillard just a little more expensive than Devin Booker, but right there. Russell Westbrook 500 more. Yusuf Nurkic at 9K. Like, I think I'd rather the guys that are in important matchups. DeMar DeRozan at 8K. Like, I think I'd rather these guys in my lineup and just go for the games that have a little meaning, and that have a chance not to blow out. Because I think if Dallas plays their guys, even if they don't play Luka crazy minutes and Porzingis, Dallas is a good enough team where Portland is terrible defensively. Dallas could easily stay in it. I think even though Phoenix is bad defensively, I think they still smack Philadelphia. And I don't think Philly has a chance to stay in this game. So for me, it's one of those young, cheap guys or like an Alec Burks. But that's really it. Anything else from this game, Tony?
No, I completely agree.
All right, so let's move on. We got the Boston Celtics versus the Memphis Grizzlies. There's another game where, Boston is pretty much locked in right now. They got the 3 seed locked up. They can't really move up or down. So this game means nothing but for chemistry purposes. And then Memphis Grizzlies, who, God, they need a win. They really want to see some Celtics get rested today, Tony. I don't know if it's going to happen, but they would love to see it right now because they're gonna be the team that ends up falling.
They got to win. They haven't won yet, right?
Yeah, and they're still the 8th seed, though. They're still there because Dame missed free throws at the end of that game. So
can you imagine a world where Phoenix went 8-0 and Memphis went 1-7 or something,
and they make it.
They didn't get in, whatever the scenario is. I don't know what it is exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it would be crazy. I think that if Boston plays their guys, that Memphis is going to lose, in my opinion. But again, the Memphis, I'm going to stay away from the Celtics like I've been doing. And the Memphis Grizzlies are pretty much a team where they have to win. I think you can look at these guys. Jonas Valanciunas being one at his price. I don't mind him. John Morant, Dillon Brooks. I think those are the 3 guys you look at for Memphis. I don't love the wing matchup with Dillon Brooks, but again, he's just chucking and he's balling right now. So I can't hate it if you want to go there. But I think outside of those 3 guys, Tony, this game is like a stay away for me. What about you?
Yeah, the Boston side for sure. The prices are fair. We just don't know. There's so many unknowns where I'm going to talk about this all week with NBA, but I want to play the guessing game. And on this game, I don't want to guess because I really don't know. And I don't even say Boston got decent run. I don't love the prices anyway. So I just don't need to force the Boston side. Sure, if we get news later in the day, which anything could happen, that 2 or 3 of these guys was sitting and the other guys were starting, I would have interest then. Like a guy like Cantor or something, if he somehow got a boost, then I would love him. Wanamaker or something. These scrub guys, just because of prices, I just want to live in that range where the guys have a huge ceilings, and I just don't see it. The Memphis side, I agree completely. Like, they need to win. I don't like any of the scrub guys, so Ja and Joe Val would be. I'm not going to play Dillon. I know Dillon Brooks has been good. For one, I don't want to really get in that mid-range. This is where you were doing yesterday, kind of playing the Dillon Brooks, and it almost worked out for you in that mid-range. Playing Oladipo and guys like that was a really nice build to get you to the top, and it could be Dillon Brooks again today. A guy like that, just because for me, how I'm building, I don't really fall into that range where I would play a guy like that. But then you look at the flip side, no one's going to play him. It's a different build. He's going to chuck the ball 20 times or however many times he's going to shoot it, a bunch, because that's what he does. And he's a decent player. For me, I like Joe Val. He's burned me a few times. He'll probably burn me again today, honestly. But I like him. They have to win. He's in a good spot. He has these games where, I mean, he's already hit 40-plus, like 3 or 4 of these bubble games. So, I don't know. Yeah, I like Joe Val. Ja's another interesting one for me because we talk about locking up points, and I think his ceiling is very, very big, and I don't think people are going to play him. Like, I do have some interest in playing Ja and Joe Val together, even though it's a weird spot because I think it'll be really low owned, and they need to win, which I like. I mean, they could easily play 40 minutes and 32 minutes between the two of them. And if I get 40 Ja minutes and 32 from Joe Val on a slate where you just don't know what you're getting, I think Ja's definitely in play for me. But again, I'm not playing Russ probably on my big tournament team.
Yeah, so this is where, Tony trying to tilt me a little bit, bringing up Victor Oladipo and in my build from yesterday. But he is right in a way where this is how, like, you can be different. We're on a call, and Tony says to me, why are you rooting for Victor Oladipo? Like, I just don't understand how you can be, like, near the top with a build with Victor Oladipo. And it's one of those things where, like, there are all different paths and routes you can get there, especially on these types of slates. And people don't want to do it because I talk about in the strategy sometimes, like, I know for a fact what people plan to do even in tournaments. Like, I knew yesterday everyone was spending up, even if they didn't like the studs. They were spending up for 2 studs, maybe 3, and they were building with all this value. And I knew that if I took multiple guys in the 7K range, 8, and then kind of had a 5K range guy in there with value, I was going to be straight different than everyone else in the field. And it came down to the lineup build and the construction and what I liked. But it ended up almost working out for me where I almost took the tournament down. If I could have got 4th quarter run, I would have had a real shot at taking down tournaments, but I just didn't get the 4th quarter run. So, that stunk from that standpoint. But I always talk about it, like lineup construction and game theory and building and trying to build a little different than how the masses, the popular build is going to be, is so important. And people just don't do it. When you get a slate where multiple values crush, you don't need every single value on your team. You're going to need like 3 of 4 though, or something like that, or 3 of 5, but you don't need all of them. So it's just different from a lineup build construction. From this game, I'm with you. Like we talked about it. It's the Memphis guys, nothing else. Let's move on. Portland Trailblazers versus the Dallas Mavericks. Portland needs this game. They're in 9th right now, sitting right behind Memphis. If Memphis loses and Portland wins, this will catapult them into a tie, I'm pretty sure. They'll be ahead by a game, I'm pretty sure. So this is big for Portland. I have interest in all these Portland guys. Like, I think CJ McCollum's price on DraftKings is a little too cheap. I like Dame Lillard at 9,800. I think Yusuf Nurkic has a bounce back game. From the Dallas side, it's really interesting. I would love Luka Doncic. If Luka Doncic's playing 33 minutes, I would absolutely love to play Luka Doncic. Do we get Luka at 33 minutes, Tony? That's the key?
I don't see why they would. I mean, you never know with Dallas because they do some of the craziest stuff of anyone, but they sat these guys yesterday, which makes me think they get decent run because, I mean, they're not just going to completely sit these guys where, I mean, they need to keep a rhythm too. And it depends on too what they think about Portland. And I mean, so right now, I think I'm almost positive they're locked into the 7 unless just crazy stuff happens where the Thunder lose both games. I don't know the exact scenarios, but
so they're not. I don't think they're locked in. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure if they win and Utah loses, they could move into sixth.
I think
Because
there's something with a tiebreaker with those two, though. I think they need.
well, they're only a game behind Utah, so I'm pretty sure Utah still has 2 more games left. I have to look to double check, but I'm pretty sure that if they have 2 games left, which I think they do, but I'm not 100% sure, then it would. If not, then Utah, if they only have 1 game left, I think Utah has a tiebreaker. I'll look while you talk.
We talked about this yesterday on the show because they played each other, Utah and Dallas, and I was like, why is Dallas sitting their guys if – and then I looked it up, and I swear I remember seeing that they couldn't pass Utah, which was why –
Yep, you're right. So they only have 1 game left, and they have the tiebreaker. So since they only have 1 game left, it doesn't matter. This game's locked.
Yeah, so I thought they were the 7. So, yeah, so this is Dallas's last game? Or Utah's last? Utah has 1 more?
Utah, I think, has 1 more on – they're playing where is it? I think they're playing the Spurs on the 13th, and I think that's their last game.
So, yeah, I mean, Dallas is maybe because the chat keeps going crazy about why would they want to play the Clips because they're locked into the 7. That's what we're talking about. We're trying to figure it out, but – yeah, if they could get out of the 7, then that's what I was wondering yesterday because they played. The Mavs and the Jazz played yesterday. We talked about it on the show, and I was wondering why they sat the guys yesterday if they had a chance to pass. That's all that made sense, though, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're wrong on it, too, because it does feel confusing with it. But I don't know why they would have sat their guys yesterday.
Oh, so Dallas does have 2 games left. So I guess there's a scenario where if Dallas wins,
I mean, they're Utah 2 back in the loss column, though. So
they're only a game behind, though, Tony. So they could technically get in if Utah loses and they win their 2 games.
I don't think so. I think I'm right on this one. They're 2 back in the loss column, so I think it'll be a fraction of a point difference.
I'm showing they're only a full game.
Yeah, it's 1 game, but it's 2 back in the loss column, so it'll be a fraction. So say that does happen too, they'll be a fraction of a point behind, I think, because it'll be say the Jazz. So the Jazz, they both have 2 games left, right?
It looks like the Jazz only have 1 by the schedule that I'm looking at.
So if the Jazz only have 1 left, then they'll definitely be good.
Yeah, that's the schedule I'm seeing. They only have 1 left. So talk about it. So you don't like the studs in this game?
I mean, we're analyzing it on the whim on a live show, but
yeah,
I don't feel good about Dallas playing their dudes. I mean, again, it comes down to floor spot where I do think they play. I really do. I think they play 30 minutes. So you just have to decide if 30 minutes is good with Luka and even Porzingis in spots like that. The topper to the fact is that Portland needs to win 100%. And the chat. Portland 100%. We can all agree on that Portland needs to win, and it's a good spot. Dame is definitely my favorite play of the Stars because I know he's going to be chucking, and I like it. I like Nurkic. I don't like anyone else, I don't think. I mean, Gary Trent is finally priced up. Zach Collins just keeps freaking killing me. Whiteside, I think, should be back. I'm not 100% sure about that. But Dame is for sure going to be on my team today. Nurkic in a good spot. And Dallas, I'm just a little uneasy. I could be talked into it if I find out somehow they're I gotta dig in about this.
So would it help? It's not a back-to-back. I don't know if this helps at all, but Dallas is not going to play a back-to-back. So, they have a rest day in between their final game. I do think that this could be the final tune-up for Dallas, and then they rest their guys for the final game, which would make a lot of sense in my eyes. So I do think you can get Luka at 30 to 32 minutes. I could see this today because I think this is his last game before the playoffs. I think they rest their starters again for their last game, which is on the 13th, I think. So for me, I think Luka's in play. I love him in this matchup. Like, I love Porzingis in this matchup too. Man, if we can definitely get a word on if these guys are going to be limited or if they're not going to be limited and they're going to play somewhat of a normal role, I would have interest in both these guys. Portland plays no defense. They are horrible defensively, and these guys could absolutely crush. I think I'm going to definitely have a Luka, Porzingis, and then maybe like a Nurk or McCollum or Dame or however it works out with all this value. I think I'm going to have a lineup like this just in case it goes nuts and they end up using this as their final tune-up game. But I can see why you would have a little pause. But
I'm in with you though too. Like I am not like overly sold on any of the stars besides Dame. So I'm definitely not against it either. Like I'm just a little torn either way. But I want stars. Believe me, I love the thought of playing Dame and Luka going back and forth with Zinger or Nurk as my third piece, and then all the value guys early, and like that sounds great to me. I might end up there honestly. Like the more I look at the standings, I mean, if they actually can get up out of that Clippers game, then they could really play some minutes. I still don't get why they sat people yesterday, but that's beside the point.
Well, I think it's a back-to-back, obviously. So I think one of these games they were going to sit. And honestly, I think they would much rather have their final tune-up game against a team like Portland, who looks like they could be in the playoffs.
So the next topper to the whole argument is we got Portland's favored in the game by 4 points right now, which under normal circumstances, if you guaranteed me everyone was playing, Portland wouldn't be favored by 4, which is super shaky with the Dallas situation. But again, like we don't need to talk about this game anymore. We agree. Like if you think Dallas plays minutes, Luka is a great play, one of the best on the slate. We agree that Portland is great no matter what because they need to win. So it's all speculation. Besides that, 100%.
Yeah, I think I'm talking myself more and more into Luka as we get in because I just have a feeling that this is their final tune-up game. They rested the guys on the front end of the back-to-back so they could play them in decent minutes to get their final chemistry and final game before they rest them again for the last one. Let's move on. Before we move on,
what was that game yesterday you told me about the final tune-up? You have to take an L on whatever that one was.
Which game was that?
Milwaukee or something. Like nobody friggin' played.
Oh, I'll take the L. Yeah, I'll take the L. I'll take and you know what though? I said that on the show, but I started coming around and I started getting in the chat and I was messaging people the entire day yesterday in Discord saying, you know what, I'm getting off Middleton. I'm not comfortable with Middleton, and it's you guys know half of you guys in the chat were probably messaging me, so you know what I was saying, but. Yeah, I was wrong on the show. That's for sure. We got Joshua LaJoy in the chat, though. He goes, Big T says I'm right. You're wrong. End of story. I'll tell you right now, Big T, he likes to try and own me. And so he can take that one because it doesn't happen very often. I'll tell you that right now because he gets owned by me majority of the time. And it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It could talk about real hoops. It could talk about NBA DFS. Doesn't matter. JSU just owns Big T. I'm going to put the picture in my back of me just throwing a 3 to own Big T and all the haters at the end of our game where JSU just comes in so clutch. I don't even know. I'm like, I can't even say Dame, at the end of games because he missed those 2 free throws. I can't even say Dame, but like old Dame, like not the 2 missed free throws Dame, like
you done yet?
Every other day. Yeah. So I'm done. Okay. I feel good.
That's good.
Good. All right, cool.
Let's move on to the nenext game.
Let's move on. We got the New Orleans Pelicans against the Sacramento Kings. Another team where they just the Pels, they looked awful and they're resting all their guys. I'm showing Drew Holiday is out, Brandon Ingram's out, Zion Williams is out. Derek Favors, nothing on him. Lonzo Ball, nothing on him. I would assume that they might as well just rest these guys too. Or not playing big minutes, but I don't know. If they play, I think Lonzo Ball just chucks. I can't see him getting full run though. And then it brings into guys like Josh Hart. each one more would get some more run. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the bigs like Nicola Melli, Jackson Hayes. We got a lot of plays. I mean, I could see Jahlil Okafor coming off the bench and just, them deciding, oh, we're going to give Jahlil Okafor 25 to 30 minutes and he could crush. Like, Tony, what are we doing with these Pels? Like, I feel like we got to wait for the news. This is like one of the spots where we got to wait, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is where the slate just gets very hard because honestly, like we talked about the Brooklyn game and there's so many good values there. And it's just going to depend on the news. So, like, you almost have to pass up on plays early and roll the dice if you want to and wait because if you get the news to break right late, I mean, you're going to fall into some really good plays. And I just don't – I mean, just all personal preference. And, yeah, these plays are going to be really good. I have a hard time waiting, though, for the New Orleans because – they still have a lot of dudes that they can play. I don't think I don't think Frank Jackson somehow started or one of these guys or Nico Melli. I don't think they're significantly better of plays than the earlier plays that we're going to know for a fact. So it's all speculative. Like we've said all show long. If you want to wait on the news, I guarantee you that good plays are going to pop up. I personally think I'm going to go with the earlier value, which I think will be chalkier too because we'll know more of what it is. So if you do, or like JSU says, that's the best advice he can give is play 3 teams. That's what I'm planning to do today. 3 and then maybe 20 where I just kind of put it in the optimizer, but 3 main teams. And maybe I leave one where I just leave a bunch, maybe even my whole, just pretend it's the FanDuel slate. And you don't even have the first 2 games. Just pretend they're not there just to be different. Just completely, I don't care what happens, too, with the news before. Just if something great pops up, maybe you play one guy or something. But pretend it doesn't go. Save that team for the late news. Build your other 2 teams normal. Just build them different. There's no reason not to with the way these games shape up. We just have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, anything could happen. Who knows? Milwaukee sits everyone. New Orleans this. Lonzo sits. You just don't know. So I think you should be different. I definitely don't like the New Orleans value as much as of now, but I reserve the right to change my mind if some news hits later.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Team where you might want to wait on the news. Sacramento side, De'Aaron Fox is going to sit. I mean, Corey Joseph's going to play minutes just because Luke Walton loves Corey Joseph for whatever reason. He's a great defender, I guess. That's why he loves him. So I'm not going to play Corey Joseph. If he burns me, I'll take the L. But
don't play Corey Joseph on
I think Sacramento as a team, I'm just kind of worried about them all getting like full run. Like even Bogdan. Like I would love Bogdan in this situation, in this matchup. And I just don't know if they're going to give him full run. If they give him full run, I would be all over him. It just worries me. Like Buddy Hield, if you told me Buddy Hield was going to get 30 minutes, I'd be playing him. It just worries me. Like
why would any of these guys play 30 minutes?
Yeah, no reason. So
I mean,
think for
it would be the topper though if this friggin' Walton just totally trolled us and like played all these dudes like 38 minutes just for fun, but. They got how many dudes? They got 12 guys.
That's why they're only sitting Fox. So that's why for me, it's like I think I'm going to wait on the Pels news in a lineup and then just fade the rest of the game unless we get something crazy. Like, I don't know, like maybe Sacramento ends up sitting more guys. Like if they sit more guys, then maybe I'll have interest in someone. But yeah. I think for me, it's the Pels side and it's nothing else. We good, Tony?
Yeah, I really don't like Sacramento. I don't know what would have to happen for me. There's so much value on this slate that I don't want to mess with a situation like that. I can't really think of a scenario outside of them just sitting everyone and having just scrubs in there that I would play those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Like say they sat everyone, like you could definitely play Jabari Parker as a total gunner, but they would have to just sit all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Barnes would have to be sit, like, Bogdan, like a bunch of these guys. But let's move on. Last thing, before we get to the final game, Tony, we got 378 people in the chat, 114 likes. I mean, I'm not going to lie, 114 is higher than normal. So that's pretty good for me not saying anything this whole
It's
show.
always got to be halfway home, though. I mean, we're at 375. We're only at 118. That's only, what is that? My math isn't great. A third. We're at like a third. We got to be at a half.
I mean, yeah, we need at least what, like 180 likes?
Oh, yeah,
like,
halfway home. We got to get to 180. Yeah, I mean,
185,
175
something like
we'll
that.
say, because we gave a look
right.
at that thing jump up. Yeah, 175, but we only got like 5 minutes left on this show.
Yeah, so hit that like button, guys. Let's go. You want some swag? We'll pick a winner.
I'm going to FedEx too here in the next like probably by Friday. I'll probably go to FedEx with that next shipment.
There you go. All right, let's talk about it, Tony. Last game on the slate: Milwaukee Bucks, Washington Wizards. I took my L in Milwaukee. From the show yesterday. Man, this just. Unless they troll me and they end up playing these guys like 30 minutes, like, I mean, if that happens, I'm just like, I'm going to just throw my hands up and say whatever. But you know what? I much rather take the risk with Luka, I think, if you're giving me one or the other. And on DraftKings, remember, they're both Giannis is power forward, Luka's point and small forward, but like they're right around the same price. Luka's 300 more. I think I'm going to lean Luka and end up not having any Giannis, at least on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's a different story because, small forward position, if you want to play Giannis and hope he gets 30 minutes, like he could smash in 30 minutes if he got it. I just don't know if he's going to get there.
Yeah. So this is where the slate gets really dicey because we've seen Giannis even get 60 in 25 minutes before, and Washington is so bad on defense that this is just a total GPP thing. And I think Giannis will even get a little ownership just because it's Giannis and you have to spend somewhere. But, man, I definitely don't like it. It's just you could fall into a path where he's on the winner, put it that way. Even in 20, because he's not playing 30 minutes. There's no world where he plays 30 minutes, but he could be on the winner in 25 minutes easily, especially on this slate where there's not that many knowns and there's all the value in the world. If he gets you like 55 fantasy points in 25 minutes, which he easily could, he could be on the winner, but it's really tough to pull that trigger because, I mean, you could see him playing 18 minutes or something, just getting a little run in, get a little work, and then sit down. It makes it even harder because it's the 9 o'clock game and we have 7 games on the slate. So you got to literally wait it out. And if somehow he got scratched, you would really be up a tough creek because there's nowhere to pivot. I'm just going to fade, I think, but I wouldn't be shocked if he somehow ended up on the winner in 25 minutes.
People in chat talking about swag. I mean, we're not getting swag at 145, Tony.
Swag we got to get halfway home. I mean, halfway home is always the number.
You guys got to hit that thumbs up button. Like, I don't, the show is free right now. Like, if you like this show and you're watching it for free right now, I mean, like.
And the gear, man, the gear's like, I mean, those shirts are like 20 something bucks. The FedEx, another 10, 15 bucks. It's like a $50 like button.
Oh boy. And we got Tony, we got my girlfriend in the chat asking for swag. So
she needs to get it. That's right. That's what she knows.
She hit the like button. Let's go.
She better have.
And hit that like button. Yeah, of course she did. She's dedicated. She's hanging out on the beach right now, and she's still watching the show right now because she wants that swag.
She wants to see that JSU. She's picturing that workbench is what she's got going on right now.
Hi, honey. All right, let's finish this out. So Washington, from their side, they ended up not playing their guys in the fourth quarter. I mean, I think it's just a stay away for me. I think Washington, they end up kind of playing their guys like 25 minutes. Jerome Robinson played really well in the last game. I think if you want to go back to someone like him, I could see him getting a bunch of run just because he's like in that second unit and they're going to run him out good minutes if they're resting or somewhat resting their starters. And if I remember correctly, they're still down, I think, Shabazz, or is he questionable? He's questionable. If he's out, that even helps Robinson even more. So I think for the most part, this game is a stay away for me. Robinson would be the only one I would kind of look at. But it's a tough matchup. I think I'm just staying away for the most part. Anything else from you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I always like to be honest with the people, and seeing that the Dallas game's at 6:30, these games are at 9. I might just completely fade these last 2 games. We got tons of value before that. There's just so many unknowns that I hate leaving spots. I think I'm going to fade the last 2 games on all my teams. I hate this Milwaukee game. Sure, there could easily be some of these people, like every game, that could end up on the winner, but I just don't see it, and I'm just going to fade it, I think, unless you really sell me on something.
Yeah, no, I think I'm more in your boat where I can't really sell you on anything from this game. I think the New Orleans side is the only side in the late games that are interesting, where like if we get news that like an Okafor starting and he's going to see decent minutes, or a Josh Hart.
Wait though, like with all this value we can play early, like so we just leave a spot no matter what.
The only way I can think about it is you play the Portland-Dallas stack, and then you end up just throwing in some value from the New Orleans game of what you think.
Yeah.
And then honestly hope. I mean, you gotta think Josh Hart and some of these Pellies are gonna get some decent run with all these guys out. Like, so I don't know. I think that's the only way you do it though. You stack up the Portland-Dallas game, and then you leave some value spots open, and hope that we get news from the later games. I mean, who knows? Maybe we get news that Giannis is out again, or Middleton's out this time, and maybe we like someone from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like, we look at Pat Connaughton went off. Like, I mean, maybe he starts again, and he's still cheap. Like, I don't know. It's against Washington. We wouldn't mind a cheap guy from Milwaukee against Washington. So. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's the way.
I mean, to be fair, too, like we're not saying there's anything wrong with waiting. Like, if you want to wait, the value is going to be good. I'm sure it will be. But I'm going to look for this early game and just focus on the earlier stuff. But you can go any angle you want. If there's ever been a game theory week, it's this week, and just go with what you think and try to hit it.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered everything, Tony. We got to, what was it, 166 or 165?
Just a little short. I mean, we don't give complimentaries either. We got to get to that number.
Yeah, we're not the MLB tomorrow. Show. We don't give complimentaries. We don't do that for the NBA show. All right.
Yeah.
But we wanted to. It's not going to happen. It looks like today. So yeah. All right. Let's finish out, Tony. What is the one game that you are targeting today, if you had to pick one game?
So the random, I like that Memphis stack. It's not a full game, but I think Ja and Joe Val, I'm really high on that spot, so I'll choose that.
Okay. I mean, I think the San Antonio side for me is the side that I really like. The Houston side, you got me a little worried about, That'll be interesting, but I do still like these Spurs. I will say, though, I won't like them as much I'll still like them, but I won't like them as much if Derek White ends up playing. Like, if Derek White ends up playing, I probably don't pay up for DeMar DeRozan. It would just be the cheaper or the mid-range guys, but I wouldn't love the mid-range guys as much. I'm going under the assumption that Derek White will sit just because – you got to think he sits. Like, he's a young guy. He re-injured an injury that he got in the same game. I just don't see, unless he just wakes up the next morning and he feels great, but I just don't see him playing. If he does, though, it'll change my thoughts. So that's that. We're going to get out of here. Anything else, Tony?
Nope. Let's get it today.
All right. So for me, JSU, Big T, we'll see you next